So to be totally honest with you, making this video is pretty much the last thing that I feel like doing right now. I just had a nice medium-sized breakdown about life and stress, and so even though I don't feel like doing this, it seemed like a good opportunity to kind of be real with you guys and let you in on life. So I want to use my little breakdown as a opportunity to kind of demonstrate what happens when we're constantly living in a state of stress. Because whether you're a business owner or a blogger, or whether you have a 9-to-5 or whatever your life consists of, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, like the more people I talk to, the more I realize that like as a whole right now, we are living in a constant state of stress, whether that's stress over money and bills, or stress over time, or stress over family. And that's a big, really big problem, because it's really hard to enjoy life when you're living out of a constant place of stress. And I've been over the past couple months, I've really been trying hard to get out of that stressful hustle of constantly feeling like I had to be on my game all of the time and stressing about everything that could go wrong, and all of that stuff that comes with, you know, what mistakes am I going to make, or how am I going to screw this up, or you know, when you're rushing through life, those things become like a heightened possibility, all the ways that you're going to mess up because you're too focused on what could go wrong to make sure that things go right. And so the past few months I've really been trying to like figure out how to get out of that. And you know, you guys know that I've struggled with anxiety and depression in the past, and I feel like overall I have the coping skills to get myself out of like the big stuff. I've battled suicidal thoughts in the past, and I lost my dad to suicide, so like I've had some really big shit in my life that I've had to overcome. And when it comes to that stuff, I can talk myself through it, and I have those tools and those coping mechanisms to get not over them, but to get through the major things. But what I lack are the kind of like day-to-day mechanisms to stop stressing so much. And I've been to therapy, and I've been on medication in the past, and so like I've taken the steps that I need to get help, but there seems to be a lack of resources and instructions for like how you get, when you're just okay, when you're just like content or satisfied. You know, we have how to take your life up a notch when you're really struggling, but like what happens when you're like in between, when you're like on the verge of struggling but not quite struggling, but you're like on the cusp? And how do you keep yourself together? How do you keep yourself from falling further into that? And so I've kind of been trying to figure that out and figure out what works for me to feel like, how am I going to live more every day? And what am I going to do to get my life out of this? Because like I don't want to live, I need to know that this isn't going to be like the rest of my life, stressing about finances and stressing about, you know, what am I going to make of myself, and am I going to get to where I want to be, and am I making the right decisions, and all of that goes through my head every day. But so anyways, today I tried to go to lunch with my family. Earlier this week I got back from New York Fashion Week, and it was an absolutely incredible week. I filmed my vlog last, the one from last Monday, with my stylist and friend that was there with me, and so we were kind of talking a little bit about the behind the scenes of what happens, and giving you a preview of like what Fashion Week is actually like, because it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of hard work. And our Wi-Fi was super shitty all week, so I didn't get as much like businessy stuff done, and I didn't crank out as many blog posts as I wanted to. And so like my stress levels right now are definitely heightened, more so than when before I left. And so today I just lost it. I just totally lost it, and I probably should have started filming this video a little bit earlier so that you could have seen the breakdown, to know that it happens to people. But I tried to go to lunch with my family. First this morning, I had planned to write and stuff this morning, and it just wasn't happening. I just couldn't, like, I woke up honestly, we went to bed at like 10:30 last night. I woke up at like 8. I went downstairs and I had a bowl of cereal, and I was still just like, all I want to do is sleep. So I laid on the couch and I took a nap for another hour. And I woke up and I worked out for a little bit, and I was like, okay, like I gotta get in the zone. What do I need? And I just needed some coffee. So on my way to get coffee, my mom texted me and was like, oh, I think we're gonna meet your grandparents for lunch in a little bit. And I was like, okay, like when? And she was like, soon. My mom doesn't have a planning bone in her body, which drives me and my anxiety crazy. I love her to death. I love my mom. We have a great relationship. But she's not a planner. And it sucks for me because I have like fear of missing out. Like whenever my family is hanging out together, like I want to be there. But she's not good at that. Sorry, Mom, if you watch this, Mom. But I'm not sorry though, because it would sound anything I wouldn't say to your face. And so she's not a planner. So the answer she gave me was soon, which was, super helpful. But so I was on my way to get coffee, and when that happened, and so I get to McDonald's because they have really good coffee, and you can get like a really, really big one for like only a little bit amount of money. It's great. A lot of bang for your buck. And so I was in line, and I waited like in the drive-through line for 20 minutes, and then I rolled up to the window, and they were like, oh, we have to brew another like thing of coffee. You have to pull up to a parking spot. And I waited there for 10 minutes, and I finally called them. I was like, when am I gonna get my coffee? It's been like 30 minutes. And I was like, I'm not paying for that. I was probably a little bit meaner than I should have been, but I was really frustrated. And so I finally I got my coffee, and I got home, and my mom was like, oh, I'm leaving now. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic, because I just spent 40 minutes between getting to McDonald's and driving back, and waiting for my coffee. And she was like, okay, we're leaving now. And I was like, great. So I wanted to get the time from her because I was trying to decide if it was even a possibility for me to make it. I was trying to decide, and the last thing in the whole wide world that I wanted to do today was to put myself together and look like a human and go out in public. But I'm trying to do more living and less sitting in my house in front of my computer. So I was like, you know what? Suck it up. You need to go. You haven't seen your family all week because you've been out of town. And so she tells me she's leaving. So I rush to get in the shower, and I rush to pull myself together. And I was already the whole situation was just giving me so much anxiety, from not knowing what time exactly she was going, to rushing to get ready, to spending unnecessary time waiting for coffee. And I already had so much more anxiety about something that I shouldn't have had anxiety about, but my anxiety was just brewing inside of me. It was it was just, I just couldn't help it. I felt so my heart was racing, and I got dressed in a whirlwind. It was unnecessary anxiety that I didn't need to feel. And so finally I get in the car, which is 10 minutes after I already told her I would leave. And she texted me once I was already on the road, and she's like, what do you want? And I was like, oh shit, they're already there. And my family's, and if you're running behind, they are not always one to wait for you. And so I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what's on their menu. And so I was already stressed because I was like, oh, they're already there. They're waiting for me. That was stressing me out. I was stressing about the whole morning, the whole afternoon. And then traffic. I sat in traffic in the stupid tunnels that are by my house because I live in freaking Pittsburgh. And then I had my GPS on because I wasn't sure which I was going to be the fastest to go. Get to the end of the tunnel, get to the end of the bridge, only to find out that the ramp that I needed to go on, that my GPS was taking me to, was closed, of course. So no matter what I did, my GPS didn't want to reroute itself, and I wasn't exactly sure how to still go that way. And so finally I turned around. I was like, oh well, I'll go this other way. And then by that time it said I was going to get there at 1:45, and I knew my family was already going to be done and eating. And so all of those things are there were just little things that kept stacking up. And then as I called my mom and I told her I wasn't coming, and she was like, why aren't you coming? And I would I think I said some colorful words, and then she's like, I can't hear you. And I was like, I'm just pissed at everything right now. I just can't. She's like, why don't you come to your grandma's later? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just pissed at the world. And see, I get emotional to live that again, because I am pissed right now, because this just happened. And so I got a phone, and I just screamed in my car, and I just was yelling at the universe. And I try really, really hard not to have a victim mindset. I try really hard to not be in that spot. And I was just why does this always happen? Every time I try to live, every time I try to do something enjoyable, there just always seems that nothing can ever go smooth. And I know that life just isn't made to be smooth. But the whole point is that when you're constantly living in that state of stress, everything seems like a really, really, really big deal. And the more that I become aware of this, the more I realize it's affecting my life and my ability to do other things. And this whole like late morning situation took up so much of my mental capacity and my energy, and it shouldn't have, because it's all just like regular life stuff that happens to people every single day. And I spent like 20 minutes when I got home just bawling my eyes out, because it wasn't just the situation, it was everything that I have built up about life right now in me that all came out at the same time. And that's what happens when we're constantly living in this state of stress, is everything is a big deal, whether or not we want it to be. Because even something like having to wait a couple minutes extra to get your coffee, or you know, hitting a little bit of traffic or whatever, those are like everyday things, and we want to be able to be calm about them and to deal with them and manage them. But when you constantly feel like you can't take any more, it's like everything consumes so much more of your energy. Everything becomes a big deal emotionally, even if you're not making a big deal about it. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else but me, if you've never like been there. I mean, I think everyone's been there. It's whether or not you want to take a look back and think about how it was like. And Fashion Week definitely put me in this heightened state of stress, because I have so much to catch up on and so much work to do. And so I even felt like guilty trying to go to lunch, because I was like, well, I should not even try, because I have so many things that I need to be working on instead. But that was exactly why I did want to go, was because no, like, Alan, you need to put work down, you need to put the business down, you need to put the blog down and the content down, and you need to go and spend time with your family. And I just feel like I tried to make the right decisions and I tried to do what was best for me, and it just totally backfired. And that makes it hard to like want to do stuff for ourselves in the future. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, where you like try to take a step back and you try to enjoy something, and like no matter what you do, it just feels like the stress that you're dealing with, it just creeps back in from every single angle. So the whole point of this is, you know, this was one day, but truth be told, like, I feel like this stuff happens to me a lot. I'm always like, oh, I had such a long day. And Sean's like, yeah, you say that every day. And I'm like, oh, shit, I do. Maybe that means that it's time to change some things. So we have to stop living like this, because I know that I'm not the only one. And, like, sometimes, every once in a while, I feel like, oh, maybe all I'm doing on the internet is complaining. But, like, nobody, like, there's so few people talking about stuff like this and talking about, like, what we go through mentally on a day-to-day basis. And so I feel like because I'm comfortable talking about it, I like owe it to the online world to put this out there and to say that like we have breakdowns all the time. And but it needs to be a sign that we have to change things a little bit, because we just can't live like this. We can't have a life on a foundation of stress. And we deserve to have better lives than this. We deserve better than to be stressed all the time. We deserve better than to let small things amplify our anxiety and to affect our mental health so much. And so I want you to know that if you have ever felt like this, it's okay. It's totally okay. It's so normal if you feel like you're freaking out about little things that shouldn't even bother you. If you feel like you let little things stress you out that you should have been able to just let go. And everyone's like, let it go, like Elsa, like just let it go. And it's not that easy. It's just not that easy. It is not that easy when you're frustrated and when you're feeling any kind of feeling. And I want you to know it's okay. Even if you feel like you're like chronically breaking down or chronically pissed off at things that you shouldn't be, you have every right in that moment to feel those feelings, and they're very valid. But the thing that you have to look at is like something's got to change, because you can't live your life, we can't live our lives letting small everyday things always push us over the edge. And I'm really good at doing that. Like I let kind of, you know, I'm like, okay, I can handle all the life stuff. I can handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. I'm there. I can do it. And then something happens and shit hits the fan and I just have a huge, massive breakdown. And then it takes even more energy to pull myself back together. So it's okay. It's okay to have breakdowns. It's okay to feel like you're a mess, because everybody is a mess. Nobody has their shit together. If they do, they're just pretending. But if you feel like that stuff is always happening to you, just take inventory and ask yourself like how you can do a better job at living. You know, not how can you do a better job at your job, or how can you do a better job at your business, or how can you do a better job at being a mom, or like doing the things that serve the other people around you. You have to think about how can you do a better job at doing more living for yourself, so that you don't always feel so on edge. And that's something that I'm really working on, and I hope that if anything, that this post breakdown video has inspired whoever is watching this to do the same thing, and to take a look and figure out how you can do more living of yourself and a little bit less stressing. Okay, that's all. This is a little bit of a long one. It's already like 15 minutes. Okay. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. And thank you for watching this and for your support. And don't be afraid to go out there and be a little bit more real than you're comfortable with, because you have no idea what other people are dealing with, and showing a little bit of the behind the scenes of your life, you never know how much somebody else is going to appreciate that, and how much it's going to show them that they're not alone. Okay, that's it. Bye.